happens. All right, glad you're back with us. We're joined right now by St. Louis County Executive Steve Stenger. County Executive, sorry it took me a minute to get to you there. I wanted to talk about this sessions hearing that's going on. How are you?
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for giving me a few minutes today. I reached out earlier because I saw the news conference you had yesterday with Mayor Krewson regarding the possibility of a coordination with the city and county. What's that all about?
Well, Better Together released a recent report, and the recent report showed that we are spending about $750 million to $1 billion more than our peers across the nation, and that's for delivering very similar type services. So it would appear that between the city and the county, and I'm of course focused on the county, we are spending as a region, quite literally hundreds of millions of dollars more than other regions just like us. One of the startling facts was that the region has passed, and this would be predominantly in the county with our municipal system that we have and the various taxing jurisdictions that we have, over 100 tax increases over the last 3 years. So Better Together has put together a task force, and once again, this is Better Together, putting the task force together. It's not the mayor and it's not me, it's them, and I'm endorsing the task force because the task force is going to look at how can we maybe reduce that $750 million to $1 billion more than we should be spending. And then the question is going to be, well, what if we are able to come forward with some kind of a plan or maybe multiple plans on how to reduce that expenditure? What do we do with it? Is it something that we return back to voters and return back to taxpayers? Is it something that we, get some kind of consensus on where we might want to invest it? Do we put it into law enforcement? Do we put it into bridges? Do we put it into roads? Do we put it into parks? Is that something we want to do, or do we, like I said, do we want to simply just return it to taxpayers? So there's a lot. There's a lot to be considered. A lot of options on the table. And, I'm certainly excited to see what the report's going to show for St. Louis County and how we might be able to save that money.
I go at this a little cynical because I think Better Together had they have a predetermined outcome when they started because they're in favor of either, I know people don't use the word merger anymore, but maybe a re-entry of the city into the county or some sort of consolidation of services. And I wonder when I hear numbers like $750 million to $1 billion in savings, what all goes into that? Is that the salaries of 40 different economic development directors and multiple fire districts, multiple police districts? Is that where they come up with that kind of number?
Yeah, that's where it really comes up. That's where they really come up with the number. And as you know, you probably remember this when I first took office, I was very skeptical. And, I'm not just a wholesale, merge the city with the county kind of person at all. I'm a CPA by trade, and I will tell you that St. Louis County has an extremely tight budget. I mean, we are on a shoestring budget, and, us taking on, services of other people at the cost of St. Louis County taxpayers is not something that I'm looking to do. But what I am looking to do is, determine, there may not be $750 million to $1 billion in total savings, but I'm sure we can shave off some of that. And if it comes as the result of a report that taxpayers don't have to pay for, I'm certainly willing to look at it. I think we could all benefit from it. And I think it'll talk about some other things, too. We have permitting, and when companies come to St. Louis, one of the big confusions that I experience is, there are multiple types of permits that companies need to get. There's a permit at the municipal level. There's a permit for X municipality. There's a permit for Y municipality. There's a zoning requirement in, X municipality, but it's not the same in Y municipality. So there's a lot of lack of uniformity, and if we could make efforts to sort of, bring some of those things together, maybe with one unified standard, I think businesses would find it a heck of a lot easier to, to operate and do business and come here to do business if we could do those kinds of things as well. So I think the report is going to generate options. And I don't think it hurts to have options on the table. We'll take a look at them, and I would look at them like I've always said I would look at them in the best interest of St. Louis County taxpayers.
Right. So I guess that would be my question. I heard Mayor Krewson was quoted in the paper as saying that, their expenses continue to go up, but their population continues to decline. When I hear words like that, I'm thinking, well, if the city absorbs some of those expenses for you, you're basically spreading those expenses to county taxpayers. I'm trying to see where that benefits the county.
Yeah, and I don't think that would, and I don't think that that's really, I can tell you that's not the that's not the objective of St. Louis County and its leadership. I don't think that, I certainly know that's not what I want, and I wouldn't believe that that's what the St. Louis County Council wants either. But what I do think we can work on are things like I'm talking about with the permitting and the multiple layers of expenses that we have right now that we really don't need. Zoning issues, going, to multiple jurisdictions and looking at where you want to locate your business and, not even being able to make sense of the zoning codes because you don't know, if one jurisdiction has this requirement and another jurisdiction doesn't have that requirement. And then when you consider 100 tax increases over the last 3 years, that's just an expense that we have to somehow find a way to deal with, and maybe that's the kind of coordination that's really coordination within the county to avoid that kind of a situation where every, taxing jurisdiction is taking a bite at the apple every year. It's tough, and that, that was approximately, $120 million just in those types of tax increases over a 3-year period. These numbers are startling.
Realistically, let's just look at reentry for a moment. If the city came back into the county as the 91st municipality, you've got the pool tax, the sales tax pool issue, I guess, on top of the fact that they would basically dominate county council, wouldn't they?
Well, the situation that you would have with the city coming in as a municipality, it would be extremely difficult on a number of fronts. All of a sudden you would be inheriting some of their infrastructure issues, and then the tax base would not be there to cover those types of things. That's why I think that the reentry of the city into the county as a municipality as a proposition is a very difficult one. But once again, I think that this report that's going to be issued is going to have a number of different options, a number of different suggestions on how to shave down that $750 million to $1 billion. So, I'm not endorsing anything other than, I'm basically making an acknowledgement that I want to read the report, and if we can look at ways to save that kind of money for our region, I think that it's something that we really have to take a look at, because when you start talking about $100 million, you start talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. That's a lot of money. Right. It's just $1 billion. What that could do for our region if we were to invest it properly, it just, it could take us to the next level. And I'm not saying that it's going to be a savings of $1 billion, but it's some percentage of $1 billion, and as you know, almost any percentage of $1 billion is quite a bit of money.
Yeah, well, it is. Is there a time frame for that report to come out?
I think they're looking at somewhere at a minimum of a year and maybe longer. So it's going to be a little bit of time, but I'm certainly willing to wait. I think they've got a lot to wade through. We've got a lot of taxing jurisdictions in the region, and we just have to take a look at it. Yep.
County Executive Steve Stenger, thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, I appreciate it very much. Thank you very much.
Yep. Have a great day.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Appreciate that. I would agree with him. I would love to see where they're going to come up with $1 billion in savings. But they're going to do the report. Looks like it may be 12 months before we see anything on it. Pull this up a little bit here, Liz. Jeff Sessions speaking right now.
I did not have any private meetings, nor do I recall any conversations with any Russian officials at the Mayflower Hotel. I did not attend any meetings at that event separate. Prior to the speech, I attended.
So that is the Attorney General. We're recording this for you. We'll have more details on what he's saying coming up and some analysis right after the top of the news. You're listening to The Mark Cox Show. Stick around.
This hour of The Mark Cox Show brought to you by Thomas Helbig, the official St. Louis financial advisor of The Mark Cox Show.
All right, big news from Golden Oak Lending. They have rates right now in the 2s. That's right, the 2s. Golden Oak has lowered its rates to